Well, you know, I mean, there's people like Richard Herring is exactly the same. I'm really naming all the names, but Richard Herring and what's her name? The very twee Josie Lawrence.
I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe I don't know.
The very twee comedians and left-wing comedians. Stewart Lee as well.
Yeah.
Like they're pandering to a student audience. They're terrified of losing the student audience, and at the moment, the student audience they perceive to be trans goofy. So they will happily just throw others under the bus just to maintain what they think is a relationship that they have with these kids. And in fact, it's a terrible thing to say, but they're right. If they say something like, well, maybe women deserve fair sports, or maybe my wife and child should have a place they can go where they can be without any men, no matter how they dress. They know that the instant they say that, they've lost that audience. They've lost that audience.
And they're not cool in their cool. It's not just, I think there's a monetary thing you're saying, and I think there's still this cool thing. I mean, Stewart Lee.
Is desperate hanging on to youth and,
Stewart Lee's desperate to be cool. I mean, he always was that way. The anti-mainstream comedian who's on the BBC all the time. When you're a big hit on the BBC, you're probably not as alternative as you might think you are, is what I would say to the left-wing Stewart Lee.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, they're all, I call them regime comedians, like there's a regime in power. If you cross them, they'll do to you what they did to me, right? They will harass you and your family, try and get you fired from jobs and so on and so forth. And again, they're right to be scared. They're right to be scared of these people. But rather than do the decent thing, like stand up for a friend, say, I know Graham and he's not a bigot. What are you talking about? Or women deserve fair sports. What's wrong with saying that? Instead of doing that, they pretend they can't see what's going on, look the other way. Well, people are losing everything, I mean, I'm not the only example, as you know, and you've had trouble, Rosie Kay, now is fighting cancer. She lost her dance studio because, because she got into an argument where she started speaking about how when she gave birth to her child, her sex was very important to her. It was an experience that her husband couldn't have gone through. In fact, both she and her child nearly died. That's why Rosie Kay was cancelled by her own dancers in her own house. And they launched a complaint against her, and she lost the dance company with her name on it. People like Richard Herring, Stewart Lee, people like that are absolute betrayers of art, of women, and of what I used to call progressive politics.
Because they could get together and say, look, none of us want to put our head above the parapet here, but if we all do it at the same time, if 100 UK prominent media figures did it at the same time, it would make a huge difference on the whole landscape. Can I ask you a favour? Please subscribe. 90% of you are not subscribed, so if you sub, it will help the channel, and I'll keep making these clips.